Welcome to Interval Drinks
with your tipsy thespian pals, Chris
and SLP. Bum bum. Bum bum bum. I won't do the whole thing. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I've just noticed you've got something on your shoe. Ah, look down, look down. It's here, isn't it? It's the big one.
You got me.
We're talking about the fabulous Babile and Schoenberg musical, Les Misérables.
Les Misérables. C'est le big one.
And we've also got an appropriately themed cocktail.
Have we?
Yeah, what are we calling this one, SLP?
I think we're calling it Les Fizz.
I see what you did there. Les Miz, Les Fizz,
Oh,
with the French flag.
Thank you,
and
barman.
a gorgeous raspberry on top. Now, the other cocktail was served with a cherry. I'm not quite fond of a cherry, but I will eat.
I love a raspberry.
Oh, I like a raspberry.
I like a raspberry.
And I'm looking
French.
at the flag. Look at that.
Ooh la la. Oh, gosh.
Of course, not loosely based on the
Would you
French
like
Revolution, of course.
I'll give you a thing, darling.
That is a common misconception. But I love Les Mis. And let me tell you something about this. I came to Les Mis a lot later in life than I did, say, other musicals.
Right.
Having first seen Miss Saigon, which is another Babile and Schoenberg classic.
We haven't done Miss Saigon,
have we?
we?
We need to do that. We'll
It's
include
on our
that
list.
the
It's on our
That's
list.
on the list. But I saw that. That was my first ever West End production.
No.
At the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane, at 11 years old. I was 11 years old with that original cast with Jonathan Pryce.
Jeezy crazy.
Completely blew my mind. So I always thought, after seeing that, imagine this, 11 years old, your first theatrical experience in London's West End, at the Drury Lane, helicopter at all. And so I always thought Les Mis was a bit of a lesser.
Right. Okay.
I'd heard like little pockets and snippets of it as a child growing up, or as an adolescent rather. But I always, Les Mis was always my go-to show. And I love saying this, especially to avid fans of Les Mis, that Miss Saigon is the far superior
like the
show.
better one for you.
And I've made no qualms about saying that this podcast is going to reek with controversy. Because as much as I love Les Mis, Miss Saigon just pips it for me. But I'm happy to talk about Les Mis all day long with you, of course, and as I am with any musical.
Chris, I love Les Mis. I love Les Mis. I love Miss Saigon as well. But can I tell you, now I know that it might sound as if we're talking more about Miss Saigon than Les Mis in the Les Mis podcast. But
do it.
The reason why, okay, I love Miss Saigon, but when I listen to it and when I watch it, it feels that every number in Miss Saigon, I wonder if you agree with this, is trying to be the big showstopper. Do you know what I mean? Do you get that vibe at all?
I don't.
Literally, like only a few songs in, there's "Why God" and all that, and then it's a big one, another big one, and a big one.
Adds to the drama.
Don't you think it's kind of like big, whereas Les Mis has much more
subtlety,
up and down, and like natural. That's what I think.
I kind of get what you're saying, but I think.
Well,
like
I'm right.
Songs like "Movie in My Mind," for example, is one of the greatest musical theatre ballads ever written.
It is.
And there's drama, but in a different way than, say...
Don't tell me against...
Saigon.
What about I Dreamed a Dream, though?
But Dreamed a Dream is a beautiful song.
So beautiful.
But I think that's more to do with the writing style of Babile and Schoenberg, because there's echoes of that in Les Mis as well, where every song is about the drama, it's about the passion.
Yeah.
And it's gut-wrenching because it really hits you hard. My view, or my take, or my stance on it, is the fact that I saw Miss Saigon first, and as an 11-year-old boy, watching your first ever West End musical, it completely blew me away.
I get you, but also 11 is a bit young for Miss Saigon, isn't it?
Yeah, but what a show to have your first West End experience.
To be fair.
And I was in my early 20s when I first saw Les Mis in London. And I liked it. I felt it was a tad over long.
Okay,
but it was a long show. Definitely worth seeing. The recent tour, I don't know if you saw that though, is like, it's mind-blowing.
I went twice when it came to Hull last year.
It's adorable,
I was booked to go with a friend at the beginning of the week. In fact, it was around for a fortnight, wasn't it?
It was.
I was in there for the first week, and I just knew at the end of the show, I just was like, I have to see it again. I have to see it again. It was brilliant, and I found it very different from any production that I'd seen before. This is what I was going to say. My first experience of Les Miz was the 10th anniversary Dreamcast concert version with, was it with like Michael Ball? There was Lea Longer. God, I can't remember all the names now. I should have written them down.
Cole Wilkinson in there,
Cole
right?
Wilkinson, of course. Oh, man. And is it Ruthie Henschel as Fantine?
Absolutely. What a dream cast.
And that was such a version to grow up on as well. It was so good. It's just an iconic show, isn't it?
It is iconic. And on that, I love the fact that on its first outing in London with the original cast, it wasn't well received by critics at all.
Are you joking?
Oh no, it really wasn't.
What do you mean?
The reviews they got were quite damning, quite shocking.
How so?
Reviews. I know. And now 38 years later,
wow.
It has been seen all over the world in almost 15,000 performances.
That's bonkers.
And
because it's in all these different languages as well, isn't it? And
incredibly. And going back to what I've said in previous podcasts, with it being a Cameron Mackintosh production, what you see is what you get.
Yes.
So no matter where you see that all over the world, albeit in a different language, you will see exactly the same production. And I think that's testament to thing, because recently, since we've been doing our last podcast, I've actually taken up writing for theatre as a theatre critic.
Of course,
so I've been reviewing shows and musicals.
Do you have a website that you'd like to plug?
Yes, Reviews Hub. It's not actually my website. I write for them, but if you want to check out some of my reviews, I write for Reviews Hub, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm having a great time doing it. But it is only my opinion.
Yeah.
So just like the Les Miz at its beginnings at the start, and there's been no major rewrites or reworkings of the show per se.
No.
But it stood the test of time. 38 years, one of the world's longest running musicals, and based, of course, on the novel by Victor Hugo.
Victor Hugo.
And it was originally premiered in Paris. Did you know this?
I
didn't
1980.
Know. So obviously it was originally written in France.
I have tried to read the novel, and blood my neck. I couldn't get through it. It was just.
It is, but I have.
Tricky.
It is heavy. It's heavy going. It's hard work.
Heavy.
But I do have a quote
from
the book, which I want to share with you.
In French?
Which I just adore. My French is not very good.
Oh.
So we had two languages at school. You could either choose GCSE French or GCSE German.
Yes.
And I chose GCSE French. And I was actually quite good at French at school.
Okay.
But
Ooh la la.
But I've lost that. Apart from, as-tu un animal?
As-tu un animal?
Do you have a pet?
Oui. J'ai un chat called. Elle s'appelle Tipsy.
Beyond
She's literally called Tipsy, though. I don't think I've told you. I've got a cat called Tipsy.
You've never told me this before.
It's brand new.
It's a brand new cat. I've got a brand new cat, and I've decided to name it Tipsy. Let me read you this quote from the Les Misérables novel. You suffer because you love. So love more. To die of love is to live by it. Love, a dark and starry transfiguration, is mingled with torment. There is ecstasy in the agony. Isn't that just beautiful?
That's heavy. That is beautiful, but it's heavy.
It's heavy. It's poignant, though, isn't it?
Oh.
Because what is Les Miz about but survival and love and passion?
You know what? I can't remember which podcast it is, but that we've already recorded today. Well, either the first or the second, where I was sort of saying I want a bit of heart in stuff like a bit of grit.
Yeah. Then
this is just perfect for it. In fact, there's a lyric that's always stood out to me, and there are so many poignant lyrics in this show. Obviously, all the way through. But literally, when you've literally had the whole roller coaster of all these different interweaving storylines, blah, 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 and it reaches the end, and spoilers. We're not going to say spoilers, but. Sad stuff happens. It's called Les Misérables, people. Come on, pick it up. And then we get to the end. The Misérables. And we've got do you hear the people sing? Lost in the valley of the night. Is it the music of a people who are climbing to the light? And it's like it's sort of like all the wretched people like that. But then it's like, yes, exactly. Hope. And it's just...
themes that are still pertinent today.
So pertinent. and not only pertinent, but like really flipping. It reaches you and it grabs you.
Yeah,
right in the heart.
It does. In fact, most of Victor Hugo's quotes or stories or tales, if you like, surround that theme of love and hope and humanity and humility, I guess, as well.
Gosh, Chris, I love Les Miz so much.
I love Les Miz. Do you know anything else about their works? Obviously, Miss Saigon. Martin Guerre, are you familiar with their work?
A little bit, only from, I'll be honest, I'll sort of raise my hands, not that much, but from getting songbooks of theirs, and so therefore finding out a bit of the music from their other shows and stuff, and of course Miss Saigon. And
Martin Guerre's gorgeous, but there's a lesser known musical.
What? Go on.
From Babylon Schoenberg called, and this is my French accent coming out here, called La Révolution de Français.
La Révolution de Français!
What did I do with that?
I thought you did very well.
Thank you,
How's the French expert?
How's my French accent? Yeah, good?
Don't know, I only did, I did A-level. I can speak it as in I can read a bit and sound that I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what I'm talking about, if that makes sense.
No, I did promise our listeners and our watchers, our viewers, I can say that now, that we would be having a very controversial debate about this particular musical. So yes, regards to the movie then, and Tom Hooper, who as an English/Australian director, who has produced some brilliant movies, by the way, taking nothing away from that, but he doesn't understand the musical genre. He ruined Les Mis for me, unfortunately, and in that. He directed Cats, the musical, so I think he needs to step back from the musicals as a genre, films, and concentrate on his own, because he doesn't understand the transition from stage to show.
No,
and I think that's immensely important.
We do have Cats upcoming in our next sort of batch of shows to chat about, so we won't get into that one too much here. So regarding Les Mis, I was really trying to, and it's interesting when you're watching something like this, or when you're watching like a movie musical, and if you realise that you're having a conversation with yourself in your head of, keep an open mind all the way through it, and having to constantly check in with yourself, then surely that means that you're not getting sucked into the story, doesn't it?
You're not getting it.
And exactly. And so I was kind of like, come on, keep an open mind all the way through. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's certainly not what I wanted from the Les Mis film adaptation from the show.
Like Les Mis, as iconic as a show is,
I know.
You need to handle that with care.
You do.
And
there are certain elements that I did like. And how did you feel about the whole that they were singing live on the day?
Yeah,
for example,
loved that. And there was moments of beauty in the shooting, because some bits are beautifully shot when the camera pans out when he's trying to jump off the
looks beautiful.
bridge, for example.
A lot of it,
looks beautiful. There's a lot of attention to detail in the cinematography.
Yes.
But from a directorial point of view, I think he's unfortunately missed the mark.
Not quite on it, and I suppose a big. Well, in fact, actually, I'm trying to think back, because didn't it come out in 2012?
2012.
It was 2012, the show, and I think at that point I had seen the stage musical before, but I'd mainly seen the 10th anniversary filming concert and the 25th anniversary concert, and the thing that I found that I missed with those two, which I then got full in the tour that came last year, was, in the second half in particular, it keeps on jumping from you're in Rue de Plumet to this street to da-da-da-da-da, and I kept on losing where I was.
Where you were.
Whereas, of course, in the film, you can actually physically see because you're now in that location.
Yeah, I get that.
So
it's
the
accessible.
Setting, I kind of understood where we were.
But there's a lot of things that are
the character development.
I've just taken a sip of my Les Fizz, and that is probably the strongest cocktail of the day. What do you think?
Ooh.
It is.
It is.
It's quite harsh. You see, I'm not a fan of gin, but there's a lot of gin in that.
Oh, I'll have a bit of gin.
You love a bit.
I'll have a bit of gin.
So the Thenardiers.
Les Fizz. Les Fizz. Oh, God.
Oh, gosh.
So
I remember having this pre-show chat. We'll call it that, a pre-show chat.
Yes.
So you said that you were going to offer a question about Les Miz, about miscast or dreamcasting.
Dreamcasting. That was it. That was the one. Now, well, I will in just a second, but I've got a question beforehand, still regarding the film.
Great.
Why, now this also goes to Tom Hooper's sort of directorial decisions, if you like, why don't they cast people who can sing, Chris? Why don't they cast, musical theatre stars or people who can sing?
It's that stunt casting thing, isn't it? I mean,
but why do they do that?
I know why. Why do they do that? I mean,
it really frustrates me. It honestly really frustrates. When there are so many actors and actresses out there who, and you can't sort of say, oh, but they're stage stars, so therefore they can't do screen.
I didn't mind his Javert.
Russell Crowe?
Yeah, I thought he was okay.
What about Hugh Jackman?
But not. Hugh Jackman was fine.
What about I've forgotten her name? Amanda Seyfried as Cosette.
Yes.
I'm just kind of. No, I wonder whether I'm really looking. Now, we were talking about this earlier as well, about when we go and see a show, it's really hard for you to sort of switch off your director, sort of critic, choreographer eye, and it's really hard for me to switch off my musical director eye. But all I could, and I do love Amanda Seyfried, but all I could hear when I was listening to her was just such a quick vibrato kind of thing, and I couldn't. It sounded like she was just really nervous. I know that that's probably not.
I kind of get your point, but it is to do with the stunt casting.
Yeah,
Get a big name in there, and we'll sell more tickets at the box office, and that's a great shame.
Yeah.
Whereas when we were talking in our West Side Story podcast about Spielberg using brand new talent.
Yeah.
That's exciting, isn't it?
That is exciting.
And so,
up and coming as well.
So as iconic as West Side Story is, the name of Spielberg and West Side Story should excite enough people to want to come and see it, regardless of who's in the cast.
100%.
Similarly then, to Tom Hooper's direction and Les Miz,
Yeah.
both iconic, one in the direction, one in the musical. Why aren't there bums on seats? Why was it necessary to cast people who are not as au fait with singing and the musical theatre?
Yeah.
I completely get your point, but I don't think Russell Crowe was that bad. I thought he was all right. He's an actor.
Again,
he's a buff guy.
He is a buff guy.
Marry me, Russell, if you're listening. No, I wouldn't go there.
Oh, I see. I see why we're buttering him up, Chris.
But I'm really excited to discuss the dream casting.
Yes. Okay. Well, I do have a couple of people written down. So, right now, who's a good character to sort of suggest to you? Oh, I've got one. It's for Fontaine.
Ooh.
Now, Fontaine would be a dream role of mine. Were I a couple of years older, I want to get there. I definitely want to be singing that. Not you, and I'll tell you what, it's not for I Dreamed a Dream. It's not. It's for the God, how to go? Come with me.
Oh.
Where chains will never bind you. That whole bit there. I nearly tipped on the seat there.
I shed a tear, SLP. I shed a tear.
That is actually her. Spoiler. Her death. There's a lot of death.
It's beautiful.
Her death and the return right at the end is the bit that breaks it. I Dream a Dream is beautiful, but I can take it or leave it. It's that bit that gets me. Hannah Waddingham.
Wow.
I would love her as Fontaine.
Wow.
Can you see that?
Wow.
Because I can.
I hadn't thought about that. Now, do we have a time or an age limit to this? Can I go back in time? Because I tell you, I'd love.
Let's use anyone in the world ever.
Ever?
Yes.
I would love back in the day, and I don't know whether this is the Miss Saigon in me, but I would love to see Leah Salonga have a go.
Yeah.
At Fontaine. I think that would be quite a beautiful and tender.
Did she do that in the 25th?
Oh, maybe she did.
Yeah, she did.
She maybe came back and did that.
I saw her.
I think that's already happened. So if that's already happened, my dream has come to reality.
Oh, I can't remember that. I know she was Eponine in the 10th, but I'll tell you what, I got less involved with the 25th because it was one of the Jonas Brothers as Marius.
Oh, right, yes, of course.
Marius is one of those tricky roles for me anyway,
it is.
I feel that
it has to be played absolutely right.
It does. Both Marius and Cosette, unfortunately for me, are both quite. Oh, I know this. I know people are going to shout and scream at me down the camera, but I feel that they're both quite wet characters. So if you're going to play them, you have to play them really well.
You have to come up with the goods.
Yeah, you can't just do your, little A Heart of Love, whatever the song, or Heart Full of Rain. Any of them. You can't do that and just sort of. It has to really be truthful. Do you know what I mean?
I absolutely do. I tell you what was the dream casting for me, and this is legit. This has actually happened. Was Matt Lucas playing Thénardier? Brilliant casting, isn't it?
I really loved it.
And showed how diverse that guy is as an actor, presenter, musical theatre star.
He's just, and obviously the natural comedy. It's not just like a sort of character that he puts on in his skits or anything like that. He's got such natural comedy
from George Dawes. You won't remember George Dawes.
I do.
He's a baby. You do from Shooting Stars.
I do.
How do you do this?
Because I watch things older than I am.
All right, that's great. That's fine. But from there, and I follow him on Twitter, and his tweets are absolutely marvellous.
He's brilliant.
So I'm going to tag Matt Lucas in this. I'm going to get him to listen to this
Definitely.
This week podcast.
Now, even though Matt Lucas is amazing, I do love Matt Lucas, but also my heart does belong to Alan Armstrong a little bit.
Wow, yeah, Armstrong does a great interpretation.
I thought, I really loved him. I genuinely, and you know what I liked about Alan Armstrong more? Now, I don't want to say more than Matt Lucas, but what differentiates him?
They're very different.
Is that because Thénardier has to get a little bit obviously savage in a couple of things.
It's dark.
He gets really dark. You have to believe that he's going to whack his door and beat up this guy and everything like that. And I felt that Alan really got that for me.
Yes. So for me, it's an interesting concept. Is that Thénardier's? One could argue that they are brought in for a bit of light relief, for a bit of comedy, but they are as dark as the integral characters.
Really dark.
They're fucking dark.
They are. In fact, I'm working on Castle on the Cloud with a couple of students at the moment, with my so quite young children. But I always sort of talk to them and sort of say, now you just have to think where Cosette is in her sort of story, and the reason why she's saying all these lovely things about, I see a woman all in white, blah 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 blah, is because she's actually she's probably knocked about by these people.
Yeah,
and it's you go and clean this stuff.
You go and clean. Yeah, it's a Cinderella story.
It is, but it's
the issue with me with that song is lyrically, and I don't know whether this has been lost in translation.
Yeah.
But there's a real issue with me, and it grates on me every time.
What?
And it's the rhyming of the lyric. There is a room that's full of toys.
I know.
There are 100 boys and girls. Why not reverse that lyric to have girls and boys to rhyme with toys?
Because they're the way that they want to be.
Artistic license.
It's le français.
Call it what you like.
I'm going to suggest something that I don't know how you're going to react to this. Javert, arguably one of my, is one of my favourite characters, but arguably
of a musical ever?
Well, I think so.
Oh my God, that's quite a bold claim.
I adore Javert. Our own Mike Gibson.
Wow.
I think Mike Gibson could play...
Oh, it'd be cracking.
A stonking Javert.
He'd be solid.
The grimace, the roar, the thing I love about Javert as a character, right, is that you kind of go in, and of course, if you're completely on Valjean's side, you're like, oh, okay, yes, he's the villain. He's definitely the villain. But as you go throughout the story, it's definitely like, is Javert the villain? Is he good? Is he bad?
Like a Wizard of Oz wicked moment, isn't it? Who's the bad guy here?
Well, this is the thing, and it's like, is he? I honestly, when I saw it in Hull, I saw two different casts because I think on the first day I went, it happened to be the day when a lot of people were sort of standing in for their counterparts, and then the other day it was the normal cast. But the Javert was the same both times, and it was just so, I can't really think of the word, so solid and so, you were really rooting for him.
Just as good as when you first saw him.
Definitely.
On that note then, our own, you may not be familiar with him, but he's one of my closest friends, Mark Pickering, would be a brilliant Thénardier.
Oh, God.
I can just see that happening now. I'd like to end this podcast, if I may, by saying, for those of you who are having a pretty shitty time of things at the moment, stay positive.
Yeah.
Because after all, even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise. God bless you, SLP. Thank you for sharing your Les Miz journey with me.